Hello and welcome to For the Love of Baby Boomers show. I'm your host, Dolores Clybert, and we have a great show today. Our show is all about preparing for the season, preparing for fall, preparing for winter by way of gardening. And we have a guest today that's going to help us learn and tell us what to do about preparing. Her name is Erica Carmichael, and she's not just a guest today, but she's a returning guest. I want to welcome you, Erica.
Thank you for having me back again. You know, I'm so excited to be back here to speak with you.
All right. Well, I'd like you to start by telling us, this is fall. What do we do with our gardens? It's fall. It's going into winter. Why are you here? What you have to tell us?
Well, let me tell you, when it's fall and we're getting ready to go into winter, it's so many things that we have to prepare for in the garden. The first thing you want to do is look out for what is your first frost date. Okay. And that first frost date is so important because sometimes we still have certain veggies from our spring garden that are still going, like your tomatoes.
Oh, yes.
And your peppers and certain squash or zucchini. They're still producing because, you know, in fall, we still have warm days. So because they're still producing, you want to know when your first frost date. Now, the area we're in is Richmond, Virginia. So Richmond, Virginia is a zone 7.
Okay.
All right. And because we're in zone 7, Virginia has A and B for 7. So certain areas are 7A and certain areas are 7B. Now, that zone 7 goes even wider. You have people in Tennessee, a little bit of North Carolina, a little bit of Northern Virginia. So you want to put your zip code in to Google, and then it'll let you know what zone you're in so you know when your first frost date is.
Okay.
Now, for ours is October 31st.
Oh, that's right around the corner.
It is.
Okay.
So by the time you'll be hearing this, it will have actually just passed. So because of that, with the first frost date, a frost can come at least a week to almost 2 weeks prior to that first frost date.
Okay.
Or it could come a week after that first frost date. So how do we prepare for that? Yeah. That's a question we want to ask ourselves. Well, you want to go to either Amazon or your big box stores, and you want to get what's called a frost cloth. And that frost cloth would allow you to cover up your gardens or your flower beds to make sure that those particular veggies that you don't want to die, you know, are protected.
So it's like a blanket for your
Exactly.
garden. So I put on my blanket already.
Right.
Okay. So I need to get my blanket for my plants. Okay.
Right. I done pulled out my little quilt, you know, put it at the bottom of my bed. So, you know, pull out your quilt or your frost cloth for your veggies. Set it somewhere near, you know, your vegetable bed or your boxes. So that way you are ready and you're prepared. Now, with that, you also have some winter veggies that need to be covered at times.
Oh, really?
So like your lettuces, they can take a little bit of a frost, but they cannot take a major hit and for not too long. So, for instance, let's say we get a frost tonight and it goes down to about 20 degrees.
Oh, goodness, no.
Let's say tomorrow night is 20 degrees. And then the next night, that is too much all at one time for lettuce.
Okay.
So when that frost hit it, it's ice. It's water.
Like a shock.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So what ends up happening during the day when the sun comes up and, you know, everything starts to thaw out, your veggies are looking wilted. They're overly wet. And lettuce doesn't bounce back like that.
Okay.
Now, what does bounce back and what you want to get a frost is your kale, your collard greens, your broccoli, even your spinach. Those things are okay to get a frost on it because once it does, it gives you like this sweetness.
Oh.
You know, you've had them winter veggies.
Yeah. My spinach. Oh, my goodness gracious. Yes.
Yes. It has that sweetness, that tenderness that
I didn't know that's
on
what it was. I didn't know the frost is what it helped.
Yes. So you also want to be careful when you're planting that garden to make sure that those veggies aren't plant right with your lettuces. So that way you can cover up the lettuce, cover up like your cauliflower. Even though broccoli can take a frost, cauliflower cannot. For whatever reason, when that frost hits that flowered part, when it thaws out, it gets very soggy and it's basically gone for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have the leafy vegetables that can take it, and then your leafy vegetables that can't. The other thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have sprinkled maybe some, not celery, I'm sorry, your carrot seeds in. Carrots will grow through the winter under the ground or in, that soil, and you're able to pick them out, once they've come to fruition, more or less somewhere between February, March, you can start pulling
them out.
Pulling some out.
Have you grown carrots before?
I have grown carrots before. Carrots are tricky, though.
They are.
They are some tricky ones.
Mine come out ugly. They're ugly.
I haven't had ugly ones, but I've had some that I put them seeds in and got nothing at all.
Oh, okay.
And then I've had some where I put seeds in and went out there and went, wait a minute, I see a little orange peeping through, and pulled it. And I've just been excited, and it's been perfect. But carrots also need a darkening period. So when you put them seeds in, you want to make sure you cover them once you have sprinkled them in for a few days or like a week until you see something start sprouting up.
Okay.
And then you can uncover them, and they're pretty good. But yeah, they
need a darkening. They don't need all that bright light right away.
Not when you first put those seeds in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, you have a lot. There's a lot to remember here.
There is
a blanket, and you got to
remember.
cover those carrots. They don't need all that light. Oh, okay.
Yes. So the other thing that we want to make sure that you know, that with the frost cloth, you also want to make sure you may have like some greenhouse plastic or something like that, because sometimes you can also reseed or put out other seed starts during the winter too. So you may have collard greens or kale greens in, or your broccoli. You may decide to pick the entire head of broccoli when you go to eat it, opposed to just pulling off some. So if that's the case and you put a new one in its spot, you want to have a little bit of greenhouse plastic to put over top of that, to
keep it warm, so it would grow into its adulthood.
And then once it gets to a certain point, you can pull that off and then go back, if you need to, with your frost cloth. But yes, that's another thing that we can do, during that time. So when you move from fall into winter, there are a lot of things, that we're looking into doing and making sure that we have. One other thing, you may decide, hey, I don't want a garden for the winter.
Okay.
So then what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, we want to make sure that the ground is prepped for the next season.
Okay.
So
which would be spring.
Which would be spring.
Okay.
So then what we're going to do is, whether you're using your lawnmower, cutting up leaves, cutting up that last bit of grass that you have, in October before we go into the winter, you can place those over your beds or over your garden area.
So instead of raking up, you're using the cuttings as a blanket per se.
Yes.
Okay.
You can even use paper bags from the grocery store, old cardboard, but making sure that the tape and things are taken off of it. And you can lay that on your beds. What happens with that is the little worms and little bugs that go in, they can live up under that, and they're preparing your soil all winter.
Because they're eating and they're getting rid of the waste, and the waste nourishes the ground, and the nourishment in there gets to your plants, your garden. Yeah.
Great. So once the spring comes, most of the time you're only maybe removing a little bit of cardboard, if any, that's up under there because all of that the worms and stuff have come in there and eaten most of that up, or the rain and the snow that's come in, and it started to dissipate into the ground.
Okay.
And then you will have a very well nourished area when you go to plant back in there for the next season.
Okay, so that's interesting. You want to cover your groundwork with paper bags or cardboard, or even the cuttings, like you said, from the or
leaves, grass clippings, vegetables
So you're giving back to the earth.
Yes.
Okay, which will then turn and give you nourishment for your garden. Okay, it's a cycle.
It is. It is, and it's an awesome cycle.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because every now and then, sometimes I'm listening to little things or reading, and I found out that the Amish, every so many years, they take a certain area of their garden plot.
Right.
And they take all of their scraps and they put in, like, let's say they may take a third of that particular area that they have, and they take all of their kitchen scraps and all of those things, and they put it there and they let it sit there for the next 2 to 3 seasons or 2 to 3 years. And then while that is sitting there, they're planting in that other area.
Right. In the Bible, I don't know, I can't quote any part. I know it's in the Bible. Every 7 years, you to take a siesta per se, a break. To give that rest period to the ground that you're using.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So we can also use that time during the winter if you're not having a winter garden, or putting a winter garden, just in a small section of your area, opposed to the whole thing, while you're letting that other part rejuvenate.
Okay.
So going back, we looked at knowing our first frost date. We looked at knowing when to get our frost cloths and putting those things on. And then we were even looking at making sure what veggies need the frost cloth, what veggies didn't need the frost cloth. And then looking at what to do when you're not planting that particular year.
Right.
Yeah.
So give a break to the ground. A lot of us are into garden. A lot of people are into garden. Why? It could be fun. It could be fun for the family, but it's nourishment and a lot of people are going to the point where they're not using pesticides and things like that, because they want to be healthy, right?
Yes.
But it's not just about growing vegetables. It's about growing healthy vegetables so that you're eating good nourishment to be healthy yourself.
Yes.
So we have to prepare the ground for the nourishment of our vegetables to give to us.
Yeah, and speaking of the pesticides, you also want to make sure, I didn't note that, but when you're taking your grass clippings, making sure that it's grass clippings that have not been treated. So I don't treat my backyard, but I treat my front yard. So I don't take anything from my front yard and put in anything in my backyard.